going on, people? Welcome to another Mask episode. I am your host, Meds, and I'm here to give you my quick review rundown on Coming to America, which is the sequel to the 80s classic starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, Coming to America. Trying not to get that confused. But yeah, the new movie dropped the 2nd of March, and I'm here to give you my thoughts and my opinions on it. I want to say this first off, right off the bat. I was not really sold when I first heard that they were making a sequel, only because I felt like the original was such a classic and they didn't really need to go back and touch it in any way, because the story I felt was simplistic in nature but executed so well, especially in terms of the actors and just the whole overall feel and vibe of it, that it was a complete story. Even if the ending, I felt everything kind of got closed off, so there was a complete resolution to everything. I didn't really see that you could kind of be able to continue the narrative, because the narrative had been perfected essentially. So yeah, the movie came out, and the quick synopsis of it is, it's 30 years later. Prince Akeem, played by Eddie Murphy, who is living happily in Zamunda with his queen, Lisa. His dad, who's played by James L. Jones, the legend himself, is soon going to die, and so the throne will pass on to Hakeem. But in Zamunda, the throne only passes on to male heirs, and unfortunately he doesn't have any male children. He only has 3 daughters. 3 amazing daughters, should I add. To me, they were like the best part of the movie, but we're going to get to that later. So because of that, his rule is under threat, and the person that threatens his rule is a general who I don't even remember his name. I couldn't be bothered to. But the general was played by Wesley Snipes. And so what then happens is that they're telling Hakeem that because he doesn't have a male heir, he's either going to have to marry his daughter off or get assassinated. That's pretty much it. And then through a series of events, Hakeem comes to find out or realize that he actually has a son who's in America, that he had, unbeknownst to him, from a one-night stand. And so he now goes to America to try and reconcile with his son and get him to come back to Zamunda. And that is literally the general premise of the movie. Now, I'm going to keep it all the way real with you. I was not a fan of this film. This film, in and of itself, didn't really need to be made. Like I said before, it was pointless. But it was just the thing is, I'm not going to say it was a bad movie, but it was just a letdown. It was just a letdown, honestly. Because you can kind of have movies that don't live up to the originals, but they can still add something to it. There's only very few movies that are able to outdo the original, especially when the original is held as a classic. And, I kind of went in there not expecting it to be as good as the original. But what I got was far worse than what I expected. Because everything in that movie just didn't work for me. It didn't work. I would say that the best part of that movie for me was 2 things. One, I would say would be the costume designs. The costume designs were amazing, so that was a highlight. And in terms of character, the only characters I liked were the 3 daughters. Apart from that, there's nobody's character in that movie that I found engaging, I found entertaining, I found compelling. Nothing. Like, nothing. And I think the thing that hurt me the most, it was just how I felt like Zamunda was deader in this iteration than it was in the original. Because the funniest thing is, Zamunda in the 80s is what Wakanda is now. Because when Zamunda came out, sorry, I'm talking about when Zamunda came out, when Coming to America came out, the perspective that it gave for Zamunda was essentially what Africa could be. Because Zamunda was rich, Zamunda was royal, and it was developed. But then it still kept elements of an African culture. And the thing is, even though the film was a comedy, it kind of took itself seriously in that sense. So it had comedic elements and comedic beats, but it still took itself serious within the narrative in which it was operating in. Whereas this movie literally doesn't do that. It takes itself as a joke, and because of that, it keeps on making crazy references and constant jokes about itself in a way, which I thought was just, it wasn't needed. Honestly, it was not needed. I think there's a scene, right, where they open up a McDowell's in Zamunda, and there's like an elephant that's like just randomly outside of the McDowell's. And when I saw that, I just had to laugh in a sense of, this is out of date stereotypes that they had of Africa, where they just believe that we're just running around with wild animals everywhere with no boundaries. And the funniest thing is, they made a similar joke in the original movie that came out 30 years ago, where Hakeem is talking to I can't remember what his name was, but he was Lisa's boyfriend at the time in the movie. And they go to a hockey game, and this is basically Hakeem's first hockey game that he's been to. And so like he's really excited, and he thinks like it's so cool that, you know, that people play on ice and stuff. And the guy then turns to him and says that, oh, you guys aren't used to seeing sports like this. You guys are probably playing a game called like Hide the Monkey. And Hakeem just looks at him, and like, you know, he plays it off, and he just smiles like to be polite. But even within that, he's kind of coming from the sense of, no, like we don't do that. That's not what we do. Like that's so dumb. The son in question, dead. No offense to the actor that played him, but that role won't for you, sir. Because that's the thing. If he's meant to be like, essentially, he's meant to be like the new lead, right? Even though it is Eddie Murphy's movie, but he's meant to be like the new lead, essentially, like playing his son. This guy had no charisma. There was nothing about him which is memorable. There's nothing about him that you care to see again. And he just a bad fit for the role. Like, he didn't bring anything to that role. Like, nothing. Honestly, I watched it and I just thought to myself, this can't be the son. Why? Only God knows why they got him to be the son. But it is what it is. Not a fan. Zamunda in the 80s is what Wakanda is now, right? Only in this iteration of Zamunda, it's gone backwards. It's gone backwards because even its practices don't make sense. So, one of the things there that you find out about Zamunda is that women, besides not being able to inherit the throne, cannot own businesses or own property. And to me, that blew my mind. The reason being is because, again, Zamunda is meant to be an economic powerhouse within Africa. So to see that Zamunda operates like that, I was just shocked. And everything they perpetuated was just like 80s stereotypes that are outdated. Even to where they freaking have a lion just out there somewhere, and like there's a rite of passage where you have to, you know, go and collect the whiskers of a lion. That is some literal dumb shit. That's some dumb shit that I would expect like people from 30 years ago would think that Africans would do. So to see that in 2021, joke, man, joke. The whole movie was riddled with it. And I could have let that slide if at least the jokes were funny. You see what I'm trying to say? If they gave me comedic beats that actually made me laugh and made me chuckle, then I would be all for it. But they couldn't even do that. They didn't even have that. They didn't even have comedic beats that were good. Nothing there for me landed. And I watched the movie twice. And they kept on doing like a lot of cameos. Like a lot of cameos. Like they had freaking Morgan Freeman there. They had Salt and Pepper. I think at one point that Gladys Knight, I might be wrong, but it's just like, and again, why they were there made no sense. They were just there just for the sake of being there. And they tried to give or bring everybody back. Everybody they tried to bring back. But again, why they were back didn't make any sense. And it's like nobody had evolved and changed in 30 years. They're exactly the same as you left them. And like the film goes a lot on nostalgia, but it doesn't even do the nostalgia justice. There's a scene, right, where they arrive in America and to find Hakeem's son. And he basically goes to meet him, but he can't go to meet him wearing like his royal garbs. So he decides to put on an outfit so that he can blend in more. And the outfit that he's wearing is literally like the same outfit that he had when he went to the hockey game in the first movie. To a T. And it's literally done for nostalgia value. So that when people look at it, they'll be, oh my god, I remember that scene. I remember what happened then. I remember. They remember berries. But yeah, it's just like, but the truth of the matter is, we don't give a shit. Because it's done so poorly that you can't even appreciate all these elements that they've tried to give you that makes you say, oh, nostalgia. What it made me feel is like I want to go and watch the original movie because that was so much better. Every element here that's reminded me of the original movie just reminds me of how shit this movie is. So yeah, that was literally like my takeaway from it. I wasn't really a fan of it, and like I said with the cameos, again, they never came to make sense. They were just like a jumbled up like mesh. And when it comes like to the new cast, people like Tiana Taylor wasted an amazing talent. She did nothing in that film. Why she was there, only God knows. Like only God knows why she was there, but she was there for some whatever reason. Wesley Snipes, boy. Yeah. This man was my hero, man. From the days of Blade, he's now just become whatever he's become. This guy was out here in Africa looking like Blade's distant cousin, Machete. Like, that movie. Anyway, we're gonna dwell too much on that. But yeah, honestly, I know like this is like all over the place, but that's just how I felt. This is not even a review. This is more just a rant. To be honest, this is my rant. But the film in and of itself, no sense. Made no sense. It didn't need to be made. My personal opinion: leave the past in the past. Hollywood, stop trying to rehash all these things that were part of like the golden age of cinema. Just let it go. If you've got nothing new to add, then don't add anything at all. Leave it as is. We know why Eddie Murphy did this. It was a quick cash grab. You know, he did it just to make money. He did it for the bag. He just decided like to shit all over his legacy in order to do it. But it is what it is. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Oh man. But yeah, my honest opinion is an 8 out of 10. I lie. It's a fucking 3 out of 10, man. It's a dud. It's a dud, man. But yeah, that's my rant / review of Coming to America. Please be sure to catch us next time when I go off. Hopefully it will be under better circumstances. But yes, guys, thank you again.